I'm going to record this. My a couple people who were doing New Year's live in different. One lives in Hong Kong, and they said they wanted to sign in and they would do it at their own leisure. Um, so sometimes we may have some people joining us, but joining us after the class.
All right. Sounds great.
Yeah. Um, so how was your holidays? Everything good and you're okay?
I'm okay. Yeah, everything's good. I've there's been my there's I mean stuff has happened as it always does, but my daughter's she's inpatient at Children's right now in this for psychiatric stuff. Um but she chose to go. She's 11. She
Uh-huh.
chose to go. So there's that and um yeah, I mean, I guess that's the big thing. There's other things that have happened, but um, on the on the on the other hand, I've really been able to like personally progress a lot with. I mean, if that, I guess I can use that terminology. In terms of like returning practicing witness consciousness and returning to that over and over again,
Mhm.
and it's it's I've found some good books that I like, or readings that I can use to kind of when I wake up in the morning and I'm you know all overly identified with all the things that are seem to be wrong,
Mhm.
and I'm really feeling it emotionally. I can recognize that now, and then use you know either work my way back to witness consciousness, using methods like that you've taught me in here. And if I'm too far out of it to be able to do, like, I can't remember how to get back, then I've got some other, um, like I said, like readings or people that I can call that I know, that I just know that our conversation's going to turn my awareness back to that. And it's funny because we've been meeting for a long time now. And it's like, and it all has started to make sense. Like it's really taken, the seeds that you planted with me, a year and a half ago have really like taken root. And I really like seeing, um, benefit in ways that I can't really describe, um, but I like it. It's it's been like it's been really it's been life changing in a way that I can't really, while I've had things that have happened in my life that have been life changing, the fact that this is like an internal thing, it just you know it it feels deeply right and meaningful, and so that's where I'm at.
Nice. Um, I'm sorry to hear about your daughter. I'm sure that has, in its own way, many layers of concern, which I would be for my daughter or my son. It sounds like she, as you mentioned, chose to do that. So that's kudos to her for having the kind of courage and the insight to seek help where she, when she needed it. And um, I hope you can keep me posted on how she's doing and how you relate to that. That's a there's nothing harder than as a parent. with things, and I talk with Soshi about it, and both of us have children too, and when our child is hurting or upset, emotionally, it's one thing if it's physical. You go get a cast and you put it on there, the arm's going to get better because the just a matter of time for that bone to reset. It's another thing emotionally when you see someone suffering who you care about, especially your child. It's and you want to help them in so many ways, and they really, obviously, I think the biggest thing we can do as a parent is just be there. It's really just show up for them without judgment, and letting them know unconditionally how much we support and love them. And that I think a lot of where we when we tend to kind of experience a separation or experience uh, uncomfortable feelings or thoughts, and we don't know what to do with them, as even as a child, if we begin to witness our parents or the caregivers or people in our lives that are important to us, if they're showing up for themselves in those situations, when our child witnesses us caring for ourselves, when we're emotionally uh, experiencing feelings or thoughts that are uncomfortable, and we learn to uh, just we're willing to be with it in a place of compassion, and they can sense that from us, so they see that example in us, and then in turn, if we can extend that understanding to them and encourage them that these parts of ourself that feel sometimes almost overwhelming, and that it is something that's changing. It's not a permanent state of mind. It's not a permanent feeling. What is constant is that loving compassion that comes forth from us witnessing that beingness that we bring to any situation, whether it's joyful or upsetting. And your daughter's learning that lesson early on, and um, what she's going through isn't anything that's not something that many of us share periodically in our lives, from in our youth, and even as when we're great grandfathers or grandmothers. It's something we all have to kind of navigate. um, and I think technology has only amplified that, just because there's so much constant input in comparison with social media and things of that nature. Not to come down on technology, but I think it does play a role in our mood, in how we how we view ourselves. And I really feel for the children younger than us now, um, because I didn't have that as a child. It was hard enough just going to school and having the cool shoes or not, or the cool lunch. It's a whole nother thing to be bombarded with a technology that you can just pick up at any moment in time, and there's a constant comparison. And so it's if we can remind ourselves that this is temporary for your daughter also, and then supporting her in the best way that we can, and then at the same time doing that for ourselves, in that moment when it comes up, if we're willing to turn to face that part of ourself that feels distant and uncertain, and that the essence of who we are begins to permeate into that path, that part of ourself that feels distant and uncertain. So that's you're doing the work, and I've like I said to many years ago, and I think I've said it many times in class, I had a dear friend of mine, Jane, who is kind of like a grandmother energy to me. Um, she, many years ago, when I was worrying about my son, and you know whatever the particular situation was at that time, I don't remember. It was just me voicing my concern as a father and out of worry, and her immediate response to me, which I think holds true to this day in any situation for someone we care about, is whatever we want that person to do or to how we want that person to be, we be for ourselves. So we make that change in ourselves.
Mhm.
So if I'm looking for my son to be able to be healthy and take care of himself and be willing to sit with his thoughts and feelings, to be compassionate to himself and at the same time courageous, then I make that step in the direction for myself first and foremost, as you know, as as a fellow human on this planet, and an extension to him so that he gets an example of that. Um, yeah. So I recommend and offer that to you too. It sounds, I mean, I already know you're doing it. So this is, you know, an extension of that. And I think it holds true for any parent or any human being who's looking to help another that's feeling that you want to do something for or you're worried about, but you don't know what to do. Well, one, showing up for them is the first step in lovingly showing up for them, holding space for them. And then second, most importantly, doing it for yourself. So that that feeling of whatever's going on, whatever's happening for your daughter, you're holding space for that as that's what's occurring now. And I'm willing to be courageously, compassionately with that energy and I without judgment. And if there is judgment, if there is any shame around that, if there is any guilt around that as a parent, that even I'm willing to be with that energy also. So whatever's showing up is just this open slate. And just bearing witness to it is compassionate. Just turning our gaze to that aspect that we find to be guilt or shame or sadness or worry is is allowing our beingness to permeate through and allow ourselves to be with it. So um, that's an act of love, an act of compassion, which at our core essence, if we really, again, as we've described it many times, even though it can't be described, it is what we are. It's that constant witness without a name, without an attribute.
Mhm.
Yet if we were to give it an attribute, the closest thing we could be would be love or peace, unchanged, infinite. And that permeates through that pulsation, that wave of energy carries, uh, whether seen or unseen, carries a great impact into our life, into people around us. And you know, in our retreat in Guatemala, that was the message that I really tried to imprint for myself and others down there was, you know, we are, especially when I left here, it felt like we were just the ongoing political and violent things that were happening around the world just really were kind of almost the uncertainty around all of that, yet the certainty of being peace. And that's our that's the essence that we bring forth into this planet from others, for ourselves and for others. And we have to, you know, if something like a situation that's uncomfortable, that's out of our control, does arise and we start to spin out into that uncertainty, and it's only a gift, a friend kind of revealing and reminding us of who we are at our core, at our source. So all of these things that emerge as uncomfortable and seemingly just, in many cases, like what's happening in around the world, it's just atrocious. You just like, well, and you question why, and you get just distraught with it all. You can also, it also becomes a vehicle for us to return home, not to turn a blind eye to that, but to meet it with compassion and know that it's it's only coming forth, it's only bubbling up to the surface for its desire to return home to a place of peace. And underneath, it's like what may be driving it to the surface is love itself, wishing and want, it's like that desire to bring it back home, to bring it home, to no longer let it lie in this place of separation. I think once things become apparent, once they've taken form, they're already now in the direction of returning to a place of balance. Once the imbalance has been revealed, it's now already in the state of balance. It's already coming back to the state of balance that we can be rest assured of. We don't know when it will happen, but it is pretty much an inevitable. just with the law of duality, the law of opposites. And then what do we glean from that as our wisdom is that even in that state of uncertainty and maybe suffering or pain, separation, we reveal to ourselves that there is an aspect of our being that is not in lack. And yet those acts of imbalance may have been projected from a state of lack. They may have been a knee-jerk reaction when we've forgotten our wholeness. So with you and your daughter, and wish you, anything you would like to share, even if you want to call me, offline at any point or anything you need to, I'm here. So,
Thank you.
yeah. Reminding her how much you love her. And even,
That's
yeah, that's what,
that's that's been my focus.
yeah.
Um, I've been able to yeah, just being supportive and non and non-judgmental. And I've been able to visit her a few times and talk to her on the phone. And I was with her when she got admitted. So I think she, we have a really good open line of communication, and it's taken, it's a lot of self-awareness over time and trial and error for me to kind of find that place where, like, you know she can tell me something, and I don't have to, impulsively make it make it different than it is, or to if she says something that might trigger feelings in me, maybe about not being a good enough parent, or you know not knowing what the solution is, or whatever that I might, on an egoic level try to defend against or change, to not, to not feel the need to do that. And it's really changed the way that I interact with, everyone.
Mhm.
And it's not perfect. Um, I still get sucked into it sometimes,
Yeah.
um, but the progress is really, you know, I've become, and what it really turns, in the end, what I realize is that it's me judging myself, and, um, and really seeing how pervasive that is for me, the self-judgment and, um, self-criticism. And so finding some space in that, and some compassion, and permitting myself to love myself exactly as things are in this moment, instead of what I normally do, what I by default do, which is tell myself that, I'll love myself at some point in the future when I kind of prove my worth to me and other people. It's like this carrot that, leaves me, I think I was just taught to do that. And I realized the, kind of the insanity of it,
Yeah.
because I never get to the point, I may, or maybe briefly at times, but I never get to that point where, like, I finally arrived, and now I've proven my worth, and I can love myself. And, um, so,
Yeah, there's no better moment than this moment. Yeah, sometimes we do have to bank it, as I use that term. Like it's just not we're not it's not just not the time to deal with our own thoughts and feelings in that specific moment. If we're moving some mechanical machinery or something like that, we may have to like finish what we're doing in that moment, as we have this limited belief about ourselves. But then banking it and coming back to it later, and even offering that insight. um, there is no better time than the moment, if you can. Sometimes you may need to step back from it, and not do it in such a heated exchange with another, or even with yourself. uh, yeah, but even knowing, it's like the awareness of it is the big step. And just becoming aware that you're doing that, you're having that exchange with yourself, that you are, the sense of guilt or something, and then I'm not good enough to receive the love that I am. Like, well, why? Has the creator ever withheld anything from you? And
mm,
one who is, has God or conscious awareness, has source ever taken from you and not give you in a breath? I mean, it's like there's so many gifts coming all the time, that the universe is actually reflecting completely the opposite of what we do to ourselves. I mean, there's just this constant, um, one gift after another. Every moment is a gift. and and so we tend to get up in our thoughts and forget that we're fully supported all the time. And the universe is trying to, like, the sun's shining right now. you know there's a breath to take right now. There's something to sit on to support your back, and it's like so we do some of those exercises to remind ourselves how supported we truly are. It doesn't always hold firm when we're in the middle of a mind wave of destructive, limited beliefs about ourselves, you know, that we're not good enough in some way. That's a really easy road map. It's a really easy road to go down, fall into. And, maybe you need to go to the end of it and go, oh, this is pretty bleak. And,
Right.
that's okay. You go to the end. I just went down this bleak road. And where did I end up? I ended up actually still with this sense of beingness and love and witness, even in this bleakness. It still hasn't left me. I'm still supported. So, and then after a while, you're like, well, there's no reason going down that road. I've been down that. It never really solves anything. So we kind of catch ourselves. Oh, I'm going down that memory lane of oh po me. So yeah, I had a few of those the other night. I had a really strong fever when I was in Guatemala. Luckily, so she stepped up to the challenge and she really held the group and taught a lot while I was down. Because I think on the 29th, I came down with, we were 2 days into it. And
Oh no.
yeah, I came down with like a 4 day solid fever. Like I in bed, just in the dark hours of the night, every night, just sweating, changing the bed and 7, 8, 9 times a day, and again got into my lungs and got a cough. And I was in a dark place there for, I think, the last night or two. I was really, um, wasn't even so much oh woe me. I just was deciding to uncover all this negative crap. And I think that happens sometimes when you get into a state of fever, uh, and you get kind of tired of your own thoughts. I was definitely tired of my thoughts. There was nowhere to go or distract myself because there was just achiness everywhere and
Mm.
no energy. So, other than occasionally getting the energy to get up and change my wet clothes because I was soaked,
Wow.
or drink water. Um, but and I hadn't, and I hadn't had one of those in a while. But it did kind of bring up to the surface some of those dark, some of my in the darkness of the night. I was definitely upset some things and found myself, really identifying with my limited beliefs about who I am. I don't even know where they came from. And in the side of the victim. Um, so however, whenever, whatever triggers it to come to the surface, again, can we just be with it? And that's really, I had nowhere else to go. I had to be with it. Was the irony of it. Um, but I'm much better now. My body and um, my breath is coming back and my energy is coming back. I was very weak, but like I said, I mean, the universe. I've never had taught a retreat where I went down like that. I've been sick a few times and maybe had some stomach stuff or whatever, but never just not completely out. And the universe supported me, so she was there. And in the retreat center that I've been to for 15 years, I mean, they were all poor ladies had to come in and clean my room, and the cook had to bring me food. I'm like, they're probably thinking, oh God, I don't want this crud this dude has.
Mm.
So they were just so kind to come and take care of me. And
Mm.
once they changed my sheets, that were just soaked. So um, yeah, yeah. If we look around, even in the universe is supporting us no matter what. We are getting support. It may not feel like the support we want, but we're getting the support. Even those things that are troubling and difficult, like we mentioned earlier, are I I tend to see them as vehicles to unearth and reveal to ourselves our more of our essence of who we are. And the ugliness that appears that has to come to the surface, it's only because we're ready now to reveal it and let it go or integrate it, however it needs to be.
I'm sorry that that happened.
Yeah, no, thank you. It wasn't definitely wasn't planned. So, uh, but I don't know, let's see here. So 9:40. I think we'll come to an end today. Um, and I'm happy to be back, and maybe we'll have some folks join us. Um, over the next couple weeks, we start getting some people that can. They may not be able to physically join us, maybe they will, but maybe they can at least enjoy the guided meditation and our talks. So that will help them in their lives. They asked for it, so we'll see if it helps them. Uh,
Awesome.
cool. Uh,
It's it's very good to see you again. I missed you.
missed you too, brother. Well, I have to say, I'll be honest. When I was in bed, I wasn't missing anybody. I was praying that the fever would go away. But yeah, I missed you too, though. So, well, have a good week, and please love your daughter deeply. Lots of hugs to her, and
Thank you. And I
keep.
will and you have a good week too.
I will, brother. Ciao.
Ciao.